You are better now, better now. You only say that cause I'm not around, not around. You know I never meant to let you down, let you down. Would've gave you anything, would've gave you everything. You know I said that I am better now, better now. I only say that cause you're not around, not around. You know I never meant to let you down, let you down. Would've gave you anything, would've gave you everything. Oh. Think that you are better now, better now. You only say that cause I'm not around, not around. You know I never meant to let you down, let you down. Would've gave you anything, would've gave you everything. You know I said that I am better now, better now. I only say that cause you're not around, not around. You know I never meant to let you down, let you down. Would've gave you anything, would've gave you everything. Oh. Would've gave you everything. You know I say that I am better now, better now. I only say that cause you're not around, not around. You know I never meant to let you down, let you down. Would've gave you.
Cornerstone Youth, what is up? My name is Jordan.
I'm Deidre. And we're excited that you guys are here. This is a live feed. So if this is your first time with us tonight, please comment down below. We would love to know who you are and get to know you better.
Yes, we want to meet you and interact with you down in the chat box. So let us know, comment your name if this is your first time.
Jordan, what's something you miss about youth?
Oh my gosh, everything. It's like weird being in this room and
Right.
not, like being filled with students and a Tuesday night. I think that just being in community with people in this room and at this church is what I'm missing
Me
so
too,
much. What about you?
same. I'm missing you kids. I miss seeing your faces. I miss hearing what's going on in your life. Like, I just miss interacting with all of you. Terribly miss you guys.
I know. Well, what is one thing that you have been doing during quarantine that has been keeping you busy?
Nothing. Just kidding. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I am busy doing that. Actually, that's a lie.
yes.
I'm really not that busy doing even being a mom. We are cleaning, making dinner. I mean, it's
poor
life right now. I
kids.
know.
There's
my kids, I
cleaning.
know all you guys are bored too because my kids are bored. Let us know what you guys are doing to keep busy, having fun. I know it's not much, but let us know down below because I know there's not a whole lot going on.
Okay, one thing that I saw that you posted on Instagram that I thought was super cool was you went down and you saw the ocean and
Yes.
the sparkly water. Was it
It's
sparkly?
so crazy what it is actually. It's the algae eating the plankton or the plankton eating the algae.
like
it's
they're
one of
like
those.
eating each other.
I think so.
Is that right? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know because I am not a scientist. I think that's right, but it is literally the most beautiful thing
Did
I've
you
ever seen.
go do that this past
Yes.
week?
And if you haven't done it, ask your mom or dad. Go see it. It's a must go see.
Do you want to know the really sad thing?
What?
My family went and they didn't take me because I had a test.
Well, you should have said, I'm not taking the test. I'm going to see the blue lights. Just kidding.
Well.
Don't do that.
Stay in school.
Be cool and stay in school.
Well, you guys, that is all the time that we have for this intro. Make sure that you follow us on our social medias at CY68 all spelled out and at CY912.
Yes.
Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like this video. We'll pause. We'll wait. Go like it.
Now, it's so much fun, guys. I mean, what's not fun to have?
I know.
It's a blast.
We are going to go to Sean now with a game, and we will see you guys after service.
Go, Kylie. Woo!
What's up, guys? My name is Sean, and joining me for today's game is Kylie.
Hey.
And today we are going to be playing a very interesting game. It's going to be really funny. It's called How's It Hanging? And we're going to do a little relay race, and whoever finishes first and gets the ball across the line is the winner. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh wait, it went past it. Is that like?
She's just too good at this. Why are you so good at this? Why are you so good at this?
2, 1.
Oh, there we go.
No, you're not going through it. No,
Messed up, boys.
no, you didn't go through the stool. That's not fair. Oh my gosh. I have myself stuck in a pickle over here. Am I allowed to touch it? Oh my gosh.
Hold on. We're doing full back. Aw,
No,
that's lame.
I think this is good. Oh.
Oh, she's off. DQ'd. Nice.
2, 3.
Oh, oh.
No! Oh, is it his fault? Oh my gosh, wait, mine's going over here.
One, 2, 3.
No, it's not supposed to go there! workout, that's for sure.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
No! 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 No!
Get out the way!
No!
Yeah!
Fair.
No!
Fair. Step on my foot, Sean.
Yes!
That didn't touch the line. It didn't touch the line. It didn't touch
Very nice.
So take two. So if I'm gonna be completely honest, I think I kind of killed that. And I think that Sean is really jealous of my skills of playing, what is it called? Hang in there? Hang. How's it hanging? So, done, drop the mic.
I'm just gonna say, that was phenomenal. My opponent didn't even know what the name of the game is. How is it hanging? You know, in the comments below, let me know who won. I definitely won, but killed it as always. Yours truly.
Salvation sounds a new beginning. As distant hearts begin believing, redemption's bid is unrelenting. Your love goes on. Your love goes on. When the world gives way, cover us, your endless grace. Carry us. Your love is relentless. 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 The time is up for chasing shadows. You gave the world a light to follow. When the world gives way, carry us, your endless grace. Cover us. Come on, hands up. 1, 2, 3. Love is relentless. Love is relentless. Love is relentless.
Tearing through the veil of darkness, breaking every chain, you set us free. Fighting for the furthest heart, you gave your life for all to see. Tearing through the veil of darkness, breaking every chain, you set us free. Fighting for the furthest heart, you gave your life. To live in grace so wonderful. All I want is to be where you are. To know a love so beautiful. Oh Lord, show me your heart. To live in grace so wonderful. All I want is to be where you are. To know a love so beautiful. Oh Lord, show me your heart. To live in grace so wonderful. All I want is to be where you are. To know a love so beautiful. Oh Lord, show me your heart. Open up my eyes to see you, my mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding, your words creating a brand new heart in me. Open up my eyes to see you, my mind, to know you. My soul longs only for you. Let me hear your voice resounding, your words creating a brand new heart in
Hey guys, my name is Raul and I'm the high school pastor here at CY912. As Deidre said earlier in the video, if it is your first time here, welcome. We're so happy that you're watching and you're joining us this evening. And so if you would, let us know down below. It is your first time, so we would love to be able to connect with you. Well, tonight we're starting a new sermon series and it's called Identity Theft. And so essentially this is going to be based around the things that God says about who you truly are, or the purpose that He has for your life. And so I have the privilege of being able to speak to you guys tonight and share a couple things with you. And so I want to start off by sharing with you a story of my childhood. Now, I know I'm a bit of a jokester, but I promise you this really is a true story. And I think I've said it before, but I used to have this goat and his name was Herman, but he thought that he was a dog. Really, really random. So when I was in 7th grade, we had 2 dogs and one of them passed away. And so me and my sister were crying and we were super sad. And so my dad's just oddball, but I love him. He decided that he wanted to make us happy. And so by doing what? He went to go buy us a goat. Why a goat? I have no clue. I don't know why he bought us a goat, but he did. And so he brought him home and we named him Herman. And you see, the problem is that that when we got him, he was a little baby. I don't know what baby goats are called, just baby goats. I don't know, whatever they're called. But he was a baby goat when he came over, and so he was raised around us and our other dog, and so he didn't know what being a goat was like. No joke, this goat would bark at people like a dog. We had a side gate at the house we were living in, and anytime somebody walked by, my dog would usually run over there and bark at them, and then he would run to the other side of the house, to the other gate, and bark at them. No joke, this goat would do the same exact thing. Instead of barking, though, he would obviously just go, bah, bah. And so he really thought that he was a dog. He would eat dog food. He did all kinds of things. Like he would play fetch. Like it was crazy. Herman was crazy. We eventually gave him up, and we don't know what happened to him. But he was a goat who thought he was a dog. He didn't really know his identity. He didn't really know his purpose. Why? Because he wasn't raised with goats. He wasn't raised by a farmer or a rancher. We had no clue what we're doing. We're in San Diego. Like, we just fed him dog food because that's what we thought goats ate, and he would just eat and like headbutt people. But I think it's funny, and I think that happens to some of us at times. I think sometimes we don't really know who we are. And if you're being honest with yourself, and I'm going to be honest with you, like there's a stage in my life where I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue who I was. Like I thought I did, and I thought the things I was doing or the people I was with, I thought those were the things that were giving me purpose and identity. And they were, but it wasn't the God-given identity that he extends to every single one of us. And I want to read scripture out of 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 through 10. So if you have your Bible out or you want to look it up on the internet, make sure you do so. Like I said, it's 1 Peter 2, verses 9 through 10. And I'm going to be reading out of the Message translation. And this is what it says. This is a letter written to Christ followers, or written to those that have dedicated their life to pursue Jesus. This is what it says. But you are the ones chosen by God, chosen for the high calling of priestly work. You are chosen. You are chosen. Your calling is to do the work of Christ. Chosen to be a holy people, God's instruments to do his work and speak out for him, to tell others of the night and day difference that he made for you, from nothing to something, from rejected to accepted. And so I want to share 3 quick things that God says about you. 3 things that God says about you, that he says about me, that he says about every single one of us, not just as a group of humans, but as individuals as well. And the first thing is this. He says that we are completely accepted. That's who he says that we are. We are accepted. We are accepted. Now, some of the biggest hurts in life, as you guys would know, come from rejection, right? Some of the biggest hurt, some of the biggest pain that's caused is the rejection from others. The truth is, none of us ever want to be picked last in the playground. And so what happens is we start to seek acceptance in all kinds of different things, in all kinds of different people. Why? Because we feel rejected, we feel hurt, and so we take that. We want to feel loved, we want to feel accepted. And so we go, we find somebody, we find something, anything and anyone and everything that can make us feel somewhat normal or acceptance, and that's what we confide in. And so there's some people that go against the grain. Why? Because they confuse attention for acceptance. They think that if they can be different this way or that way, not that being different is a bad thing, but when you're doing it for attention, it certainly is. Even if you're doing something good and you're doing it for attention, it's not good. The Bible says it's not good. And so you start to go against the grain because you confuse, like I said, you confuse attention for acceptance. And that's where we get in trouble. And here's what I want to tell you tonight, is that we don't need to chase acceptance from people. We don't need to chase acceptance in something or from this or that. We don't need to chase that, because God tells us that we already are accepted by him. God tells us that if we run to him, he's going to accept us with open arms. And he tells us that even before we were born, even before our mothers knew who we were, or before she knew that we were in her womb, God tells us that he knew us and that he had a plan for us. And that plan is much better, much greater than any of the plans that you or myself can write out for each one of our lives. But here's where some people get caught up. So there's two extremes. There's two extremes here. There's people that can't accept the fact that God accepts them. Okay, they just think, well, man, what does God want to do with me? Like, I'm not good. Like, well, he wouldn't accept me. So there's that extreme. But then the second extreme is this. Some people catch that. Some people know that God accepts them, but some live their life as if God's acceptance for our life is also God's approval for the things that we do or say in life. And so that's where people, and this happens to church leaders, this happens to pastors, to other Christians, this happens to all of us at some point. Okay, let's not kid ourselves. But here's the sad truth. There's some people that think that just because God accepts me, just because God accepts you, you don't need to change anything you do, you say, or watch. When in fact, if and when we truly, wholeheartedly, and willingly accept the love and mercy, and acceptance that Jesus extends to us, that in itself should overwhelm us. And if it doesn't, like if you sit down and just think about the grace and the mercy and the acceptance that God extends to you, despite anything you've ever done, said, thought of, anything like that. And if you sit down, think about it long enough, and if at some point it doesn't start to overwhelm you, then I want to challenge you a bit. I want to push back a little bit. Like, it should overwhelm us. The grace and the mercy and the acceptance that he gives us should overwhelm us. It should humble us, and it should change us from the inside out. The second thing that he says about us is this, that we are extremely valuable. Do you know that you're valuable? Do you know that you're very valuable? And do you also know that there's a difference between being liked and being valued? You see, somebody can like you, but that doesn't mean that they value you. And I think some of us miss this, and that's why there's so many people that are caught up in boyfriend-girlfriend relationships that they shouldn't be in, and they just feel like, oh, this person really likes me. But do they value you? Do they value who you are? Do they value the things you believe? Do they value the things that you stand up for? Do they value you as a person, as the person that God created you to be? Do they value that about you, or do they just like you? Friendships. Some of you have friends that you know they don't value you. You know that they might like hanging out with you because you might be into the same things, into the same band, into this or that, but they like you, but do they value you? Do they value your own way of thinking? Do they value the things that you stand up for, your morals? Do they value all that? Do they value your relationship with Jesus? Do they? And so what do? We're caught here. What do? We need to do two things. The first one is this. We need to understand our true value. We need to understand where our value comes from. And it comes from what Jesus Christ did on the cross for us, which is he laid down his life for us, even when we rebelled against him. At the darkest thought you've ever had, at the worst thing you've ever done, the worst thing you've ever said, even in that moment, Jesus was willing to lay down his life for us. And I don't know about you, but to me, like I've always said, I'm an actions speak louder than words kind of guy. And there is nothing that speaks louder than somebody who lays down their life for somebody else. And that's exactly what Jesus did on the cross for you, by name. Yes, he did it for us as a human race, but he also did it for you and for me by name, even when he knew we were going to do the things we did, even when he knew we were going to say the things we said, even when he knew we were going to think the things that we think. His life, or him giving his life on the cross, is the biggest ransom that anybody has ever paid for anyone else. The second thing we need to do here is this. We need to see value in ourselves. We need to see value in ourselves. I think this is the hard part for some of you, for some of us, I should say. I think some of us can grasp the fact that God accepts us, and we can grasp the fact that God thinks we're valuable, but it's hard to find value in ourselves. It's hard to take ourselves seriously sometimes. Why? Well, because we know the things we think. We might not be a horrible person, but like we know the things that we think. We know that's not right. That's not okay. And like, God, thank you for forgiving me. But like, man, I have no confidence in myself. I have no confidence in my walk with Jesus. And we need to learn how to find value in ourselves, because until we learn to find the value in ourselves, we won't ever be able to find value in the purpose and the calling that God has for us. We might see it, but we won't ever be able to do anything with it. It's like playing baseball. You're up, it's your turn to bat. You see the ball coming, you see it, you know it's there, you know exactly what you need to do, you know exactly what your purpose is. Your purpose is to hit that ball as hard as you can. There is no doubt, there is no question that is what you are up there to do. You see it, it's coming, it's right there, but you miss. You miss because you're not in tune, you're not in sync, and that can happen in our relationship when we don't find value in ourselves. We see that God accepts us. We see that he values us. We see that, but we can't step into it because we miss it. The third thing that he says about us is this, that you are forgiven. We are forgiven. In the book of John, chapter 8, there's a story of a woman who was caught doing some things she wasn't supposed to be doing with some guys. And in that time, the law allowed for her to be stoned by death right then and there in public. And so this large crowd gathers to stone her. And Jesus was there, and there was people there that knew Jesus was a controversial figure, because he was. And so some people were like, man, this is a good opportunity to stump Jesus. Like the law says we should stone her to death. Let's see what Jesus has to say. And so Jesus says practically nothing, and instead he bends down and he writes something in the sand or on the dirt. And to this day, we don't know exactly what he wrote, but what we do know is that when the crowd saw or read what he wrote on the floor, that every single one of them started to leave one by one by one by one, until it was just Jesus and this woman face to face. And there we see the grace and mercy that Jesus extends to every single one of us by telling her to just go on about her life and to not sin anymore. And he was going to extend that grace and mercy to her right then and there. And if we really think about it, like, God catches us red-handed every single day, every single time. If you're watching this and you're thinking, well, like, if you think you got away with anything you've done, you've said, you've thought, anything negative, and you think you're excluded from this message because you really haven't messed up all that bad, like, truth is, I might not know, your parents might not know, your friends might not know, but you know, and God certainly knows, because he catches us red-handed every single time. It's just, there's some people out there that are too prideful to admit that, or to admit it. But you have to forgive yourself. You have to accept forgiveness. We need forgiveness in this world. Why? Because without forgiveness, there is no love. And without no love, there is no you, there is no identity, there is no purpose without forgiveness. Forgiveness is that launching pad that will launch us to be able to reach our God-given identity, our God-given purpose in life. And I want to close with this. Do you know that there is a spiritual battle going on every single day for your identity? Every single day, whether you know it or not, whether you accept it or not, the truth is that everything, everyone around us influences us in a certain way. Whether we know it or not, accept it or not, that's how it is. Everything we see, everything we read, everything we do, everyone we surround ourselves with influences us one way or the other. Some are good and some are bad. Every rejection and every encouragement, anything negative, anything positive that happens in or around us is shaping and molding us into a person that we're going to be in the future. But there's some of you, there's some of us, like I know that was me for sure in middle school and high school. There's some of us that walk through life, that live through life not caring. We don't care what God has to say about us. We don't care what He has in store for us. I don't care about the purpose or the calling or the plans that He has for my life. And we don't care. And then life comes and it punches us in the face. And some of you guys know exactly what I'm saying. But you've always done this. You've always done that. You've always been around this person or that person. How can you let them go? How can you not be around them? And before you know it, you are a goat who thinks you're a dog, like my goat, Herman, in my story. And so we're molded into someone and something that we ourselves don't recognize. We ourselves don't know who we are anymore. And certainly the people around us don't know who we are anymore. Can I say this? I'm going to close with this. Let me say this. The rejection that you have received from your mom or your dad doesn't define you. The abuse that you've had in your life doesn't define you. The stuff that people say about you doesn't define you. Your deepest, darkest secret doesn't define you. The disappointments that others have expressed over your life doesn't define you. And even the things that you say about yourself sometimes don't define you. The only thing that can and does define you is the Word of God and what Jesus did on the cross for us. And what the Word of God tells us is that we're completely accepted, that we're extremely valuable, and that we are forgiven. That's who you are. That is your identity. That is my identity. I hope this message encourages you, challenges you. We can't wait to see you guys, and we hope to see you next week.
Hey guys, we're here for the recap tonight on Pastor Raul's message. We're going to go over some stuff tonight. It was a great message. Learned a lot of things.
Thanks, DJ.
You're so welcome. So, we talked about Herman the goat.
Yes.
I want that goat.
Herman was awesome. I don't know what ended up happening to him. So we ended up taking him to a ranch down in Mexico. And we kept in touch with him for like a month. Like we would take food to him because we felt bad for him. I know. He was with the herd of goats. And so he was happier. But then eventually we just like stopped taking him food. So we hope that he wasn't eating in tacos or something.
Okay.
We don't know what happened. He might still be alive.
I hope he wasn't eating in tacos.
I know, me too, but you never know.
Hopefully you didn't eat them in
Hopefully I did. For a true story, I didn't eat, so there's
goat
like
meat.
birria tacos.
Yeah.
I didn't eat birria for a while.
I wouldn't either.
But like low-key now I do. And so every time I eat it, I think about Herman.
Poor Herm.
Yes.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Yes.
For other people that might want to know. So you talked about identity tonight.
Yeah.
What's something that because I remember feeling this way, like we get confused with our identity. So what's a main thing that could help us get out of that confusion?
Yeah. Are you talking about like who we are as a person?
Yep.
Yeah. I think identity is one of those things that I think a lot of people struggle with. I think most people struggle with it, honestly. I think some are just more vocal about it.
Yep.
And some are willing to admit it, some are not. Like I know in my personal life, even to this day, now it's something that I still struggle with. You know, like I'm a a youth pastor, I'm a dad, I'm a father. And so I question myself a lot. Man, is this really who I am? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? God, what is it that you really have for me in my life? You know, and I kind of try to remember that sometimes God isn't this puppet master up in heaven pulling the strings.
Yeah.
And so I take peace in knowing that sometimes God allows us to follow our own path or our own desires. And that being said, I do think that God often reveals his identity to us through our passion.
Yep.
You know, sometimes I think a lot of people confuse their career path with their identity or their purpose.
Yep.
And for some it is, but for some it's not.
Yeah.
For some, their career is completely different than the purpose or the calling that God has on their life. And so, again, the 3 points that I pointed out today are 3 things that help us, that should help us remember, like at the end of the day, we're accepted, we're loved, and we're forgiven.
Yep.
Like, regardless of what you're doing, your career path or your decisions, like those 3 things are extended to every single one of us.
And you also talked about value. And I know it's hard sometimes because a lot of us can be in positions where we don't feel valued. And I think that's also hard. And as a teenager, especially, I remember being a teenager. I know you remember being a teenager. It's like sometimes you don't feel valued because people look at you like you're too young, or people look at you like you're not mature enough. And that's another hard thing.
Yeah, for sure. You know, definitely when you're young, whether you're in middle school or high school, there's times that you yourself won't feel valued because you know you're young.
Yep.
But then there's other times where other people will make you feel that.
Yep.
You're too young, you're too dumb, you're too immature, you don't know this, you don't have the life experience. And you know, I think sometimes it hurts because there's truth in it.
Yeah.
There's some truth in it, you know. There's a difference between someone who is married and someone who is not.
Yes.
Like, they have that experience. And even, you know, for us adults, there's a difference between somebody who's married with no children and somebody who's married and has a child and has had to stay up all night because their child is sick.
Yes.
There's just difference. It's not better or worse. It's just different. It's a different experience, a different lesson that we've learned, you know. And so,
and I think too, it's about growing.
It's about growing. Life is obviously
changing all the time.
Yeah, life is always changing, and with that change, we're forced to do one of 2 things. We either grow, like you said, or we cave and we come to our demise.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately for some, I say demise, and for some it's a physical demise, and that's when, you know, people just can't take it and they want out of life. And for others, it's just a demise and the choices they make, they end up ruining their own life because they just don't want to deal with it. And so they go into drugs or this or that, and they find comfort in other things, you know. And like I was saying earlier, I think sometimes, you know, whether we like it or not, people influence us.
Yes.
We're always being influenced, either positively or negatively. There's so much influence around us, and that's always happening. Right now, I'm influencing you, you're influencing me. It is what it is. But I think there's a difference, like I said, there's a difference between somebody liking you. There's even a difference between somebody accepting you and somebody valuing you.
Absolutely.
Somebody can accept you, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, husband, wife. They can accept you. They can accept you for your faults and your this or that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they value you.
Yep.
Value you, when somebody values you, that's when they genuinely care about what you have to say. They genuinely care about how you feel. They genuinely care about your upbringing, your values, you know, your Christian morals, all that stuff. that's what valuing is, not necessarily just accepting you.
Agreed. And another thing you talked about, and this always gets me even at my age, like what Jesus did on the cross for us.
Yeah.
He did the ultimate sacrifice that no one else will ever do again.
Yeah.
I mean, he took our sin and totally, totally forgave us.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done things that God has forgiven me for, and I felt it's put shame on me. And that shame can be a blocker for us not to feel worthy of that when we are worthy of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to be Christian to understand that when someone gives their life for somebody else, that person who laid down their life must really love
you.
that person. Like you don't need to be Christian to understand that, right? Like you can be atheist, you can be whatever, and understand that concept.
It's true love.
That's true love. And so, you know, so now you take that and you take Jesus, who was a perfect being, right? Like he didn't have to die.
Nope.
Like he didn't have to die.
No.
He was perfect in every way. But yet he willingly chose, okay? He willingly chose to go to the cross for us as a humanity, but also for us as individuals. Like I truly believe that when he was on the cross, in his God-given ability and power or whatever, I believe that when he was in the cross, like I truly believe that he somehow had every single one of us in his heart and in his mind.
Absolutely.
Like, and even when we chose to push God away, even when we chose to rebel against God, like in that moment, like God, Jesus still chose to lay down his life for us. And to me, like there's no bigger picture, no greater picture than.
It's amazing to think that there's nothing, like we think that there's stuff that will hinder our relationship, but there really isn't. Like he loves us unconditionally.
I think Jesus, like if you take, we take the worst thing we've ever done in life, or the worst thing we're going to do in life in our future. I think we can take that and Jesus would, I think Jesus, if he took that picture or thing that we did or say or whatever it was, if he was on the cross and that's what came to his mind about us, he still would have chosen to die for us.
Absolutely.
At our worst, Jesus would have been like, you know what, like I'm still going to lay my life down for them.
I love that.
Yeah.
That always gets me every time. Every time. So another thing you said, I have one more thing.
Yeah.
So, and this for us as parents, I know a lot you guys are not parents, you're children.
You better not be. Well,
I mean, I was, but that's not right.
True. It's true.
Not right. Anyways, it said you talked about he calls us child. We're his beloved. So to me, it's like we just had talked about. To me, though, we are loved. No matter what, you are loved. If you feel like you don't have people in your life who love you, there are people in your life that absolutely love you, and Jesus will always love you. So to me, that just makes me feel comfort and almost a calming to know that no matter what's going on in our life, we're loved. We're loved.
Yeah, we are. And I think, I think a question that I would propose to everyone watching this would be, if you didn't have anyone else, like no one, if you didn't have anyone, would you be okay?
Yeah.
Like, would you be okay? And some, if they're being honest with themselves, some would say no.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't. Like, if I didn't have my mom, my dad, my boyfriend, my brother, my sister, my friends, like, if I didn't feel like anybody was there for me, no, I wouldn't be okay. And now, I'm not saying we don't need people.
Yeah.
We definitely do need people.
Absolutely, community.
Of course, but there's times where, like, we're going to feel like nobody is there.
Yes.
Like, whether we like it or not, like, we're going to feel that at some point. We're going to feel like, yeah, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your youth pastor, like, you're going to feel like nobody is there. Like, that's not a question. That's just, it's going to happen. So are you prepared for that?
Yeah.
because it will happen. Are you prepared for that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I can sit here honestly say like I know that I would be okay.
Yeah.
Like I know that I need people. I know that I need my wife. I know that I need
Absolutely.
my kids. But I know that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Why? Because at the end of the day, like, it's not just words, but like if all I had was God, like I know that I have more than enough. So
It was a good word tonight. It hit my heart hard.
thank you.
I know it hit your guys' heartstrings too. We loved being with you guys tonight. We're so excited because guess what? We're going to be back here next Tuesday night. I love you guys, and I'll chat with you soon.